things. It's a matter of time. And I'm going to start with what I call my 5 outrageous statements. And I say that because these fly in the face of what most of the secular world would think about in terms of what I would say in the areas of science. And let's try these. First, the Earth is young, not old, thousands, not billions of years. Evolution is not science. Life from non-life is impossible. There are no transitions between kinds of living things. And finally, all of the missing links are still missing. Now, that's a lot of stuff in one. Let me elaborate a little bit on the points, and then we'll go into the 2 models. First one, the Earth is young, not old. When you look at, on the planet, the physical and chemical processes, they say young. Not old, but young. They say this planet is young, not old. Only the radioactive processes talk about an old planet, and if we get the questions later and deal with radiological processes, we can talk about why they say old. But they say thousands of years. Let me give you some examples. Helium in the atmosphere, the accumulation of salt in the ocean, the erosion of continents. All those things say this planet is young. The shrinking of the sun, the movement of the moon away from the Earth, the accumulation of meteoritic dust, the short-period comets. All those things say this universe is young, not old. Only the radiological methods say old. So that's one step. Second, evolution is not science. It's not science because science has to be demonstrated in the present. I think, I suspect, there's a law called gravity. I can demonstrate the law called gravity. If I don't like it and I went up on the roof and jumped off, what would happen? Splat, right? Gravity doesn't care, it's a law, because it can be proved in the present by an actual experimental process. Both creation and evolution can never be called science because, in fact, they can't be proved in the present. They're ideas about the past. Let me give you another example. If we look at a jury, we present a vast body of evidence to a jury, and they decide guilty or innocent. Will they ever know for certain what happened? No, they won't, because we don't have the past. The past is gone. All we have is the present, and in the present we have to determine what happened in the past only by looking at the evidence, not by proving one or the other. Life from non-life is impossible. When we look at the living systems in the world, and you incidentally are a very complicated living system, your DNA, if we wrote it down with a 4-letter alphabet, would fill about 600 1,000-page books. If we took it out of one of your cells in your body and stretched it out, it would be about 6 feet long. And it's coded specifically to you. The only exception to that would be if you have an identical twin. Nobody else has your code unless you have an identical twin. I can guarantee that because the possibility is so overwhelming, there aren't enough electrons in the universe to count them. So you are definitely unique in that sense. And the possibility of life arising spontaneously from dead chemicals is an impossibility. There are no transitions between kinds of creatures. These are some examples of transitions. First thing that has to happen if evolution is true is dead chemicals come alive. Think about that. Dead chemicals become a living cell, and that living cell explodes into life in the Cambrian explosion. Those creatures go from cold-blooded to warm-blooded. The reptilian scale becomes the bird's feather. We dealt with that in the workshop. The land mammals become sea mammals. That is, a cow-like creature decides to become a whale, and we'll deal with that a little bit later. And then finally, in terms of the statements, the missing links are all still missing. All the fossils of hominid evolution older than 50 years are no longer in the chain. If something has been looked at scientifically, it no longer remains in the chain of evolutionary process. It disappears. Only the ones current are in there, and my indication would be they'll disappear also.